Hi, Matt from Game Over here. Just a little heads up, really. Normally we shoot with 2 or 3 cameras. Today, 2 of the 3 cameras with which we were filming just stopped working. So in this video, we will just be using the one video stream. And as a result, it will sometimes appear that we're talking off camera when we thought the camera was recording, when in fact it wasn't. Sorry if this one appears to be a bit more jumpy than usual. Hopefully the quality of the discussion is what will keep you watching. Thank you. Hello and welcome to Game Over's final Game of Thrones episode discussion recap of Season 6 of Game of Thrones. Today we're going to talk about the Winds of Winter. I'm joined by Dan. So, this episode, massive things happening, nothing happening.
I think we were both so worried that after how damn good last week's episode was, that this one was going to kind of follow the tradition of Game of Thrones and just be a damp squib of an ending. Because we often, the action happens in episodes 8 and 9, and then episode 10 is, and here's what's coming next series.
We were talking about this in the car on the way here, that it was just excellently directed, because we've seen Miguel Sapochnik, who did Hard Home and Battle of the Bastards, and we thought, man, great, fantastic action scenes, massive, grandiose and all these kind of things. But I think in the back of our minds, we must have had the worry that like next week's going to be a lot of talking. Can he do it? Turns out, yes, possibly not better, but just great in a different way.
Yeah, I don't think you can compare the 2 episodes.
No.
Because, it was so specialised last week. I mean, that was a mini war film. But this episode, particularly the beginning where they had this lovely, almost completely dialogueless montage of everyone gearing up in King's Landing. It was so ominous. The music was kind of operatic almost. It was so sleek and shot in a dark manner. It really felt like a sequence on the House of Cards.
Just rife with portent. I mean, it was tense. It was somber. Everybody was a bit somber. And when you go into the Sept of Baelor and you got the star and you got the 7 Septons,
where they all lined up right on the point. Yeah, that was fantastic.
This is the direction we've been talking about. I don't want it to be, Hannibal or even as artsy as True Detective, though that'd be cool. But just
it might be a bit too much for Game of Thrones.
But where they just do a little more visual panache
and actually try. Where you agree? I know that we felt like we were watching a film that happened to be on TV once more. Earlier in the series, and at times in Series 5, it's been he's talking to her, do that. The
very functional
obligatory wide shot. That's it's what I call just point and shoot. A level of cinematic flair and artistry is what separates us from the animals in terms of the shows we like. So we're not watching CSI here. We're watching something that's going to be proper, that deserves your attention. And I think we're getting that.
I thought the whole episode was going to be King's Landing. Like, the way it was, I mean, I knew it wasn't because I'd seen the trailer.
Yeah.
But the way that it was like, this could easily be the whole episode. And anything that's happened in the past 2 episodes, the Battle of the Bastards, Daenerys and her dragons, King's Landing going... Any of those are sort of last episode things. Like, any one of those could have been a full episode. Any one of those could have been the last scene of the episode. I actually feel the last shot of the episode was a little bit underwhelming by comparison.
I called it, though. I remember in maybe like episode 2 I said, guarantee the last shot of this series will be the Armada sailing out and a dragon going, Rah!
Yes, it
just was. Every series, it ends with the dragon going... What really made me laugh in that shot is obviously it looked lovely with her being like at the helm of the ship and everything. From a pragmatic point of view, they're already halfway in the sea. At what point are they going to go, oh, can we sit down yet? Because they're sailing across the fucking sea and are they just going to go and just look epic for the whole journey?
I feel we should probably talk about this episode in segments because otherwise we'll just be all over the place. So Cersei's putting on her full villain regalia,
basically an old-fashioned SS uniform, but with a bit of chain.
It was quite like Maleficent, and actually when she was doing her wine thing, I can only see Claire Underwood in her.
She is Claire. She's basically an actual supervillain now.
For weeks now, people have been, if Tommen dies, who becomes king or queen? And we've been like, well, it should be Stannis, it should be Renly, that's literally been the whole show. But now we see that the answer is much more simple. It's just, Cersei is queen because no one's going to argue with her.
Because she's the most powerful.
That's literally it. If we take the scene at the Sept of Baelor, Marjorie is like, fuck the gods, alright? We need to get out of here. And it was, to me, quite out of character for the High Sparrow to just be like, now the gods will deal with it, now we're fine. He should have been like... You're like, because the High Sparrow is smart. He's a master of political theatre. If he was just like, everybody out...
Wouldn't it have increased the desperation in the scene and how much it would have meant to see them all... Nope, they tried, but they died anyway.
Yeah.
If they were all like, fuck, he's right here, we've got to get out. And Jamie, who has surely finally realised what a nutter she is.
Because Cersei looked over him and she wasn't like, brother, you're back. And he wasn't...
was like, gutted.
Seb blows up. When the explosion happens, you kind of hear... like squelchy exploding, like when you blow up one of the wretches on Gears of War. It's like, or like when you Hammer of Dawn, someone on Gears. It's exactly that.
I always used to make that noise when we played in the playground. You'd like shoot someone and go.
So then Tommen looks out the window, and then almost without hesitation, he jumps out the window.
But you knew it was very telegraphed. But I think again,
I didn't see it.
Do you not see that coming?
It's that I wasn't prepared to accept that was going to happen. I think.
Oh. But again, it just looked lovely, and there's nothing wrong with having that kind of ominous shot going on. I was just laughing the whole way, because anyone who's seen the IT crowd will be familiar with how Mr. Renham commits suicide in the first episode. He even does the pencil drop, as Tommen did, just casually like, thank you, Sheila, make us some tea. Plop.
That's why it's called King's Landing. There you go. That bit... Yeah, Tommen jumping out the window, it was silent, we didn't even really see, and it was as shocking, and possibly as horrible as any death, because it's like one of the most cerebral deaths, I think, because you can tell he's like, this is the way to go. Even as king, he has powers to do anything, and when I think about the whole of Tommen's arc so far, the real sadness is that no one has done anything for Tommen. Marjorie's manipulated him, High Sparrow's used him for his own ends, even Cersei, who does love her children, and that's her through line, and I believe her in that. Everything is just using Tommen. When they write this down in the history books, he's going to be the boy king, the weak king, whatever. It's just sad.
Yeah, he has had a sad life. He never wanted to be king. He clearly was never made for it. He's pretty much just suffered. On the topic of maesters, what was the point of that, though?
Right, I've actually written this down because...
I know it happens in the book.
Right, in the books, spoiler alert, doesn't matter, we're further ahead in the books now, Varys is still in King's Landing, and then he crossbows Pycelle, and then he says to Kevin, basically, you're doing a really good job, and I need Cersei to be shit, alright, in order to get a Targaryen, so he kills Kevin because he's doing a good job. He needs to destabilise the nation so that everyone rallies to Daenerys when the time comes. The killing of Pycelle, not pointless, but I mean there was some nice moments in it, like when Qyburn goes out with the old in with the new sort of thing. It was brutal, and kind
of like another scene in this episode. Basically, we thought King's Landing was excellent. Is
just so good. This is the King's Landing stuff we've been talking about.
Yeah, finally, because it's been shit.
Yeah, nothing.
Frankly,
I mean, when you think about what's happened this season, Jon Snow came back to life, but that might as well have not happened. So literally, the stuff that's happened has just been in the past couple of episodes, and I think it could have been peppered along.
You know, watching Jon Snow, I forgot he died.
Yeah. So is everybody else.
So utterly pointless. The bit I was gonna talk about was Arya's random coming home and killing of Walder Frey, which again, good scene, cool thing. Like, oh my god, she's baked her sons in a pie. But what was the point?
It just seems unnecessarily cruel, really.
Yeah.
Not that I mind. Not that I mind cruelty in the show, but it's just not the kind of cruelty we've seen of her. Plus, she's never met like anyone in this show. He must be like, who the fuck is this? And even though she goes, I'm Arya Stark of Winterfell, she isn't a main Stark, and to be honest, she's been presumed dead for a long time. If I was just like, I'm Arya Stark and I'm going home, and that was the last we saw of her, I would have been fine with that, and you said you were fine with that as well. Because it's just
it just made sense, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, if they got time to use up, I don't want to complain too much, because we've done a lot of that, and this episode doesn't deserve to be complained about, for the most part.
Shall we head north? So, they're on the battlements of Winterfell, and Sansa and Jon have their moment, and it's great, and it's nice, and you can tell that like they've finally sort of pulled a 180 on their relationship when we saw them in episode 1.
There was film language to suggest that there's still a divide between them.
Most notably,
that part of the battlement was it was so.
See, I took it to just mean that was more of a symmetry thing than a divide thing.
Or maybe, but I don't know. I think with the language of this director, he's very aware of everything he's putting on the screen.
Mm.
So I get the feeling that shit's gonna happen, and later on when Sansa's kind of like, well done, mate. Shit.
Sansa doesn't necessarily want like praise and glory for her. I think she just wants to be fucking recognised, because all the men, which we'll talk about more, they're like, yeah, okay, Jon Snow, you could be king of the North. Jon lost the battle. Jon personally had lost the battle until the Knights of the Vale came in.
He was crap. I mean, we all know what Jon is. We know that he's noble to a fault. He's a terrific warrior. He can inspire you. He really cares about everyone under his charge. But he's not a capable, well, certainly not a capable commander. In terms of battlefield action, we've already seen that his emotions will get the best of him, and he's weak because of it.
We got to talk about Baelish and Sansa, and he's like, "No, my vision is me on the Iron Throne." And I'm like, he said it. He fucking said it.
I enjoyed that
and
so much.
I don't see it happening. It'd be cool, and it'd be sort of the Frank Underwood way, but he doesn't have faith and trust of the rest of the Seven Kingdoms. So I just don't see it being him. For at least the third time in the show, possibly definitely even more, he kind of makes a move on Sansa. She's like, come on, no.
However, I can kind of see that working out because he's the only one who actually gives her that recognition that she wants. She is, to him, she is already the queen. On the flip side, he didn't say, I see us on the throne. He said, I am on the throne, you'll be there as well.
Yeah. Is his affection for Sansa real? I mean, I know he just sort of goes, you're your mum, basically.
To make him interesting, it kind of has to be, I think, because it'd be boring if he was just scheming. Think of Frank. We know he is a psychopath, but he does actually want Claire with him. He doesn't need her, he just wants her. If he wanted, he could have her killed and get away with it. Lickety split.
Something I find quite humanising in him. He goes, I have this picture in my head, and, you know, if I only do something if that action leads to the happening of that.
Which means he'd be a damn good screenwriter. Like, is it relevant to the plot? Shoot it.
So he has that, and then he says, and why would Jon Snow have the North? He's just a motherless bastard born in the South.
Yeah, and at that point, I said to my girlfriend, it's going to be the next shot. The next scene is going to be the Tower of Joy. I know it. I knew it.
And then we go over Benjen dropping off Bran, which you said was a great directorial moment.
I do think that, because Game of Thrones, we've often said, is guilty of very on-the-nose dialogue. This episode was so minimalistic in terms of the dialogue. This scene, for example, in the script, it would have just said, he drops off Bran, he literally says these words, he buggers off. It wouldn't have said anything like, oh, he's sad, for example. And because we know damn well with the writing, if he was meant to be sad from the writing set, he would have said, oh, Bran, I wish I was coming back with you, but I can't. But we didn't need that. The director thought, okay, here's a man who has had everything taken from him. He so desperately wants to join his family in the fight and to be the human he once was, but he cannot. He's stuck here in the realm of the dead. He knows he's going to have a shit time. And that's what makes him so noble. He's so melancholic and bittersweet, you know. Even when he's talking to Bran, he's just going, you can see he's thinking, fuck, I wish I was back there. It's lovely directing, because we know that. We don't need to be told that. You can see the performance is good as well, for what it's worth. I mean, we don't know Benjen that well. But in this scene, we found out more about him than we ever have. That he's wistful and he's desperately sad, but he's going to keep fighting anyway.
That said, though, I don't like how this is his second episode, and we're probably not going to see him again. If we do, it'll be like in the War for the Dawn, and he'll be like, ah! But we're not going to see him have, you know, great dialogue, and he's not going to be back in the fold. He was basically just a plot device, which is a shame, because we haven't even spoken about Hodor since he died. Like, there's been no mention of him. Bran hasn't been like, oh, how great and terrible can I be?
He didn't have a Spider-Man and Uncle Ben type jobby going on.
Yeah. He does have an Uncle Ben, though.
Nice. That was good. We couldn't have set that up better in a sitcom.
No. Because I said, when Hodor died, how is Bran going to get about? Because Mira is going to be sick of dragging him about. Luckily, Benjen on his cool horse came by. But that's all he was there for, and a little bit of surprise, and hey, Stark's come back to life again.
He is a Deus Ex Machina with a personality.
When the winter's coming things come up, I've not taken it to mean like, winter, the season will soon be here. I took it to mean more like,
shit's going down.
The dark times will eventually be upon us. More of a portentous thing than a statement of the season might one day change. And why are the Maesters the authority on when winter is, when everyone else is in the north being like,
because they don't have the Met Office. They've just got magical people who guess what's going on. There's a lot of the plot lines, for one, I can't think of the words, they're just like, nothing's happening, we all know what's going to happen. Like,
and we're here.
In this episode, we knew exactly what was going to happen. Nothing we didn't expect happened.
And but yet it was still
because
like,
it was made so well, and because they really showed that it will mean something. In the defense of the writers, it's not their fault that everyone speculates so much that someone's bound to get it right.
But even in our correctness of that speculation, they still managed to surprise, I think. I mean, we called it weeks ago, Burning King's Landing, and it was mind-blowing. You know, I watched it and I was like, this is amazing. With the destruction of the Sept of Baelor and the general skepticism of the gods, this is definitely the most atheist season of the show yet. But I also don't like the angle of it is like pacifism is dumb. If we go back to the scene when we first get the Hound back, we've got these peace, loving people, and they're just like, yeah, man, let's build a Sept, whatever. And then Ian McShane gets hung from his own Sept, and I just feel like you're dumb if you want peace. When the entire thesis of Game of Thrones, George R.R. Martin, as a conscientious objector, is just, war is bad, let's not do it.
Oh yeah, he refused to go to Nahum, didn't he?
But the show's like, yeah, man, let's go to war, that's cool. Let's watch the Hound cut down some more people. When in the books, the Gravedigger theory is that the Hound is at peace and is no longer a violent, hateful man, which I think would be a great character development, but they've just gone, no, that would be cool.
If he had to reluctantly become violent again, if he really, really didn't want to, but there was no choice, like, if he just had to defend someone. He might be going north as far as we can tell, because Beric Dondarrion is like, White Walkers exist now. Another person magically knows that the Night King is called the Night King. Like, he's handing out business cards, this boy. He has no means by which to say what his name is.
I don't know if anybody's heard of him, have they? Like,
well, Davos like, the Night King's coming, man.
Has Davos seen the Night King? Was he at Hardhome?
No.
So he just believes Jon?
He was with Stannis at that time,
That's true, yeah.
he has no idea. Who literally has no doubt about the White Walkers?
Tormund.
Sam, Jon, Tormund has seen them, and
the
wildlings.
Just the Night's Watch blokes
was there at Hardhome, but that's it. Everyone else has just taken the word for it.
When he was like, the Night King's coming, someone's got to be like,
who's that?
Why is it that for thousands of years, people have been like, White Walkers now is fake. And then Jon goes, Night King's coming. Everyone goes, oh, let's take it seriously.
And they go, make him king. They don't go, he's off his rocker.
What are you on about?
Yeah.
I think we've skirted the issue rather too much that we need to now talk about the Tower of Joy.
I was so excited.
I think Jon Snow is Azor Ahai because here's the thing: he puts down Arthur Dayne's sword at the head of the bed.
They very intentionally showed. Here's the hilt of the sword, here's Dawn.
Plus, Arthur Dayne is still bleeding out outside. He's dead, but he's still bleeding out. And Arthur Dayne is the Sword of the Morning from Starfall. Whichever way you take it, this is the Bleeding Star, probably.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, but let's just take it that it's the Bleeding Star. So we've got to consider what the Salt and Smoke is. We still don't know.
I really was sure they were going to do a thing up to the sky and the comet would be there. I'm sure.
Maybe that's too on the nose. Maybe this is more subtle, because I think most people just be like, alright, you put down the sword, but we're like, and we get Lyanna. It cements an answer against the speculation, because people have been like, was Lyanna kidnapped and raped by Rhaegar, or did she elope with him? And as we see, she's got midwives, she's being protected by the best of the Kingsguard. She went willingly with Rhaegar.
Yeah.
Maybe she was married to him, but that's neither here nor there right now.
That would be interesting though, because that means he would not be a bastard at all.
Yeah.
He'd be full on legit.
We've been speculating for years, and the people who've read the books have been speculating for even longer that, Eddard had to live with his lies for 17 years and all this sort of thing, that Jon Snow is Lyanna's son. And when we think about Eddard's last scene with Jon, he says, when you come back, I'll tell you all about your mother. Yeah. It's just a really long How I Met Your Mother, actually. So we know Lyanna is Jon's mum because they used the cinema language. Again, it was an obvious one. But it's still the use of the visual language. Go, here's the baby. These are the lies that Eddard feels he's had to live with. Lyanna even said, if Robert finds out, he'll kill him. Promise me, Ned. All that kind of thing. He's literally a Targaryen Stark. A Starkarian, if you will.
I cannot see any other explanation.
They're teasing a little bit by the absence of Rhaegar. But that Rhaegar might not be his dad. But Rhaegar definitely is his dad, though. This is like a peak of the show, though, because as we all are probably aware of, when Benioff and Weiss were given permission to make the show, George R.R. Martin said, who is Jon Snow's mum? Yeah. They answered correctly. This is them saying, here you go.
Yeah.
We are right. But it sort of doesn't matter, does it? Because they're all like, the king in the north! And Lyanna's like, you're all shit, basically. And we get introduced, finally, to Lord Wyman Manderley, and he's cool that he's like, listen, I'm sorry. But we've literally not met this guy before.
But he does this really cool.
It was
King Arthur thing.
Yeah.
Which I appreciated.
And everyone going, the king in the north! The king directly mirroring, obviously, Rob's scene at the end of Series 1. So it just shows how far it's all come. And even when Lyanna says, I don't care that he's a bastard, he's my king. Oh, I was like, yes, Jon, you didn't deserve this, but yes!
It was just so inspiring. And I've got to say, I watched back that Tower of Joy scene and the cut directly to that scene with the music and everything and the significance, I was getting really emotional about that. You know, but there's such intimate scene between Ned and the sister, shot beautifully. Like all the shots are so close, you can see everything that's on their faces. You know that she's going to die, and you know that Ned knows it as well. So that's just that tragedy. You know, once you saw the tractor baby, you knew what the next shot was going to be. But still, it was such a lovely, elegant way to reveal that. Just on him with this kind of his sad eyes with the kind of nobility, but also that music, which was kind of the Stark theme tune, which is. It is a melancholic theme tune, but it's also quite inspirational, and I can't remember how it goes exactly. But you know the one I mean.
But you're right. The cut was nice, and the thing is, the point is of cutting, of editing, is to always save time in a narrative. Always. To me, the zooming into the baby's face and then to Jon Snow's face, it's cinematically almost no different to that bit in 2001: A Space Odyssey where they throw out the bone and then there's the spaceship. It's like, this is how far we've come, sort of thing. Yeah, this is Baby Jon, and then this is Lord Commander King of the North
Good
Jon.
reference.
I know, right? I haven't even seen 2001.
You don't need to. It's very boring.
I've been told. And then everyone's like, the King in the North, the King in the North, and it's just, although it's like a unanimously, or so it seems, victorious and glorious scene, we still get Littlefinger being like, and Sansa being like, I'm watching you, because Jon is still a bit naive. Like, I guess he hasn't, much like Robb, he doesn't accept that he's King of the North, but he has to be. Jon said to her, on the battlements, he said, you're the Queen of Winterfell and this is yours now. Yeah. Like, Jon accepts that she's probably the right person for it.
She will, because he'll go south. He will definitely be going south.
Going forward, we don't know very much more other than Daenerys is heading to Westeros, so unless she gets held up, as she always does, by the end of the next season we will be seeing some sort of storming the city, I guess. Provided that,
absolutely, yeah.
Provided that the crown even matters, and where's Cersei going to go with this? But either way, that's a different video, and we will do a video on predictions of, you know, where do we want Series 7 to go, but I think we've gone on for long enough now, so we should probably wrap it up. But it's been great doing these. There will obviously be more videos, and for those of you who've been watching from the beginning, which I'm pretty sure isn't that many, thanks for watching, and we will do this again next year. And for any other TV show coming up this year. Thank you.